Well, good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Jacqueline King here. I am the founder and CEO of Black Women Empowered, and we interview amazing people doing amazing things. And as I say always, today will not disappoint you. We have my friend, my little brother, Mr. Keith I'm Possible Brown. How you doing, Mr. Brown?
GOODJOB, good job, good job. And we serve a GOODGOD, a good God, good God. I am so delighted, ignited, and excited to be with the incomparable, illustrious Dr. Jubilant Justified Jacqueline King. I'm sending you some virtual hugs right now. I'm so honored to be with my big sister, my colleague, my comrade, my friend. I'm just so honored to be on the BWE platform once again.
Well, we loved you, and you always brought it. You bring it wherever you go, and that's one of the things that I absolutely love. I know you're going to give 1,000%, and it doesn't matter what platform you are on, and that's what makes you separate you from the rest. So let's
Thank
go ahead
you.
and get started because I know a little bit of your story. So in school, you was like chit chat, 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 chit, and they wanted to shut you down. Talk about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I'm called Mr. Impossible today, but there was a time in my life where I didn't feel as if it were impossible. It was impossible. I was labeled special ed. I was labeled at risk primarily because, back in those days, I talked too much. I was very hyper and I wanted to give all the answers. But ironically, those are the same traits that now take me across the world as a world-class speaker, author, director of external affairs in the Georgia Senate, coach, and award-winning trainer. And so it's amazing how the systematic label has now given me a global label of empowerment. I can recall teachers saying, Keith L. Brown, you talk too much. Now I get paid to talk. And so it is just so amazing how God can shift the atmosphere in our lives and use all of those things that are systematically negative to be spiritually positive and give us the influence in the earth while giving him the glory and honor. So yes, I was labeled special ed, mislabeled. And so I travel now and I tell children and young people across the globe that you might have been labeled and mislabeled. You might have been labeled special ed or LD or ADHD. You're not dumb. You're not stupid. You are brilliant. You just learn at your own pace. You learn at your own level, and you will go from impossible to impossible as long as you stay focused.
I love that. And that's you always bring a positive message. And as I see it, especially since the pandemic, our kids are really, really suffering. That homeschooling did not work. It hasn't worked. And so where are we today? You have your finger on the pulse of the schools. Where are we today with the education in our kids?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things we were able to do is I was able to train a lot of educators during this pandemic. As you know, we shifted to virtual learning, and as you stated, it was disastrous in many cases on so many levels. Um, as a matter of fact, the in-person learning was difficult for a lot of our kids. And so imagine now they have to shift to a virtual platform where the technology is not all of that great. They don't have that physical touch of that teacher. They don't have the atmosphere of or the opportunity to be in a classroom with their peers. And so now they're missing out on the social aspects as well. But we understand that we were promoting safety first, and we understand that the virtual learning was the best option. But I always encourage those teachers to be engaging. You have to be engaging on that platform. And so you have to start that day with music. Start every day on that virtual platform with music. You want them to turn those cameras on. You want them to unmute those mics. Well, you got to get them up and ready and fired up. And I had this saying that I would give to school districts and parents, and it was called from the bedroom to the living room, now that's your classroom. So get ready. From the
All right.
bedroom to the living room, that's your classroom. So get ready. And what that meant was we had to make certain that our scholars were not under those covers, that they got to get up out of the bed. You got to send them to the bathroom first and take care of that hygiene. Make them get dressed as if they're leaving the home. Now, with that being said, I'm very sensitive to the reality that so many children, all they had to learn was in the bedroom because they didn't have a living room. And sometimes the living room doubled as the bedroom. And so my goal was to tell those parents, find an area in the home where they didn't have any distractions, turn those televisions off, turn the radio off, and let them have an area that's just their area, their office that they can own, a section where they can learn. And once again, when we did that, I encouraged those teachers, you have to engage them with that music. And then before you start any lesson, you have to start with social emotional learning. You have to check on their emotional being. You have to check on their mental pulse. What are they feeling like? Because we talk about the trauma that we face as adults, but nobody realizes our children had trauma. Our young people had trauma. And so I implore those teachers in those school districts that are still virtual at this time, before you start out creating a path for math, or forming an alliance with science, or becoming buddies with social studies, or having a heart with language arts, start with their mind, start with their heart. Make certain that you do a social emotional wellness check on our children. And so what we're seeing now is that we are hopeful that our teachers are engaging them more, because it's so difficult to be a teacher in America right now. Oh gosh, I give a shout out to all of our educators. I give a shout out to all of our administrators, just everyone in school, because it's so difficult now more than ever before. So shout out to all of our education professionals. But I will say this, if you're on that virtual platform, they got to utilize the chat. They got to utilize the chat. Let those young people chat. Go in the chat. Write those answers down. And people say, why the chat? Because it's like texting. And we know how our children and young people like to text. So what we're able to do now is take their real life experiences and bring them to a virtual platform. And now as they're coming back in person, Dr. King, we're letting them know we got to stay masked up, keep looking up, never give up, and be fired up. Masked up, keep looking up, never give up, being fired up. And in our home, we also stay prayed up. That's first. So that's key. That's key. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. So in the poorest communities, my dad used to drive school buses. And so one of the things that they did was a lot of the kids in the projects didn't even have Wi-Fi. They put Wi-Fi on the buses, and they sat there for 8 hours so the kids can get the Wi-Fi. How effective was that?
Well, one of the things that we have found is that for those communities that were able to have access, it was effective. But here's where we have to hold our legislators accountable. And I'm a director of external affairs in the Georgia Senate. And what we made certain was, if you have a legislator, he or she has to make certain that his or her district, everyone has Wi-Fi. I don't care if you're in a rural area, the poorest community, those children and young people, they deserve Wi-Fi. And if you can't get it out to their homes, then you have the capacity to at least put those children and young people on buses and take them to buildings where they are socially distanced, where they can have access to Wi-Fi, because our children deserve it. And we do understand that many of our Black and brown babies are amongst the most underserved in the country. And so we have to keep our finger on the pulse. Our faith-based leaders have to open their doors as well. And our kids can learn in those faith-based institutions and be socially distanced, of course, but anywhere that they can go and they can have access to Wi-Fi while being socially distanced, it's going to take our elected officials, It's going to take our faith-based leaders, our community activists to work together to make sure children, young people, and families have what they deserve. And that also means the Board of Education has to be accountable as well on how they spend those dollars. So it's very important. It's very important that moving forward, that our children have two things: access and exposure. Access and exposure, because if they don't, we'll see what we saw much of the last year and a half, where education in our country has been what? Non-existent. It was basically a wasted year. And so that's why I believe no district should have been failing kids. Okay, no district should have been holding kids back. Okay, this was just a year that America is going to have to say, listen, the COVID-19 came, but we cannot hold our babies back. They cannot be left back. We're just going to have to do some remediation. We're going to have to do some remediation. We're going to have to bring them up to speed, but whatever it takes, Dr. King, to do that for all of our babies, not just those who are privileged, who live in those communities where they have access. All children deserve the right to learn, to have access, to grow, and have exposure. Because as we know, if they don't, then what's going to happen is they're going to live in a reality where they're going to turn to those other factors that are not so positive. And we do not want our babies in juvenile detention centers. We do not want our babies incarcerated. And so right now is when all of our elected officials and others have to step up to the plate to make certain our families have what they deserve.
I think that is absolutely correct. I know that you are the master motivator, not just a kid, but that's your passion. Your passion is kids. How are you doing that now? Is everything virtual? Are you going into schools and they're coming on Zoom? How's that working out for you?
Both. It's happening in both facets, in person as well as virtual learning. But I'll tell you, over the course of the last 3 weeks, Dr. King, I have uplifted thousands of children and young people in Michigan, in Wisconsin. We've been in Virginia, of course, here in Georgia. Next week, I'll be in New York. I will be speaking in September.
Is this physically?
Oh, this is in person. All of this I'm speaking about now, all of this has been in person. It's been socially distanced, okay? All right, it's been socially distanced, but of course it's in person. But I feel so good to be able to engage them in person again, Dr. King. It's been amazing. Like I said, Michigan, Wisconsin, Tennessee. Target just sponsored me for a huge back to school rally with African Heritage Inc. and Target in Wisconsin, where we had hundreds of families come out. They were socially distanced, giving away thousands of book bags and school supplies. And so guess what? We're back. And this is the reality. Even in my wife's school, where she's an elementary school principal, we have the plexiglass. And so, you know, each student, they have the plexiglass to protect them. They have the masks. They have all of that. We have the cleanliness going on, the hand sanitizers. They spray the building every other day. So we're all working. But here's the problem. The problem is not the kids. You still have adults out there who will not wear masks. And what's happening is that COVID is running rampant now because we see they're not wearing the masks. And so guess what? The cases are rising. But as I'm talking to those children and young people, guess what, Dr. King? They're comfortable with the masks. It's not them. They are comfortable. We know that children are the most resilient beings on the planet. It's the parents who we have to get to. And so I'm calling on parents and I'm imploring these parents, make certain that your child is wearing the mask. And they may say, well, you know, we don't want them wearing masks. That's taking away our freedom. I would rather they have masks and be a little uncomfortable, because you know what's more uncomfortable than them wearing the mask? COVID-19. Contracting COVID-19 that's the most uncomfortable that they can be. So they may have a little discomfort, but like I said, from what I'm getting from the kids and young people, That's not the issue. The issue is with the parents. So I'm calling on all parents. Let's step up for our children and our young people. And it's a safety issue, Dr. King. I'm passionate about it because it's a safety issue. You don't know what those other children are bringing home from home with their own families. So we want to protect our children. We want to protect the teachers. We want to protect the paraprofessionals, the custodians, the transportation staff, the cafeteria staff, the district level, everyone. We want to protect them. So we got to get rid of this battle, this political battle, because to me, that's all it is. It's the people placing politics above the people.
It's true. And my 4-year-old grandson, believe it or not, he's very comfortable wearing a mask. His parents got him into it. When they go out, he puts it on and they ain't got no problem. He's 4.
Absolutely. And he knows he's a little, listen, and your 4-year-old grandson, by the way, he's a prospect, not a suspect. He's a genius and he can teach adults. And that's the thing. Our children can teach us. Our children can teach us, but they are resilient. They are adapting. And I just believe that as long as we stay masked up, we will see a reduction in the numbers. And of course, I can't tell anyone what to do, Dr. King, but I will say this. I'm an advocate of being vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. My family members have been vaccinated in our home because we have our beautiful mother who's battling Alzheimer's. We want to make certain she's safe because we know in the elderly population, she's one of the most vulnerable, okay, as well, and most at risk to contract COVID. So whatever we have to do, I understand it's not about me. It's not about me, Dr. King. It's about you. It's about my neighbors. It's about my family members. It's about the hundreds of thousands of people who I come in contact with and will come in contact with in person over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. It's about others. So I have to protect myself first. Then I have to go out and then be a good disciple as it relates to helping to save lives.
Well, I think that things are changed. The needle has moved just a little bit with people dying and upticking. So I think it's not like overwhelming amount of people that are getting vaccinated, but it has gone up a little bit because this is real. I was reading an article on LinkedIn. I don't know if you saw it. This family, African-American family, went to Mexico. Did you see that? They went to Mexico. And the husband, they all got COVID, but the husband, did you see that article? That's crazy.
It is.
You go to Mexico and you know you're not vaccinated. That is absolutely ridiculous.
There's
and he couldn't get he almost died.
Right. But see, that's the thing, Dr. King. We're hearing more stories like that. I will go out in public. Dr. King, I'm going to some of these venues. You go in restaurants where people are not masked up. They're having concerts. Football is back. They're about to pack these stadiums. And they're going to pack these stadiums and how many people are going to have on masks? So we see, you see the beaches. You see the beaches still until Labor Day, right? You see the beaches where, guess what? So many people aren't wearing masks. My wife and I, we were walking in the park the other day. There was a large soccer match. And I will tell you that it looked as if 90% of the crowd did not have on a mask. And, you just want to run up to everybody and just put on masks. You put masks on everybody. Of course, you can't do that. But I just believe that as a country, we're in denial. I believe that as a country, we're in denial, and we don't believe that COVID-19, this pandemic, is as deadly as it is, but it is. And I'm glad you said what you said. It's real. It's real. I've been to Zoom funerals of family members who've lost their lives. Yes, right. I've lost dear friends to COVID-19. One of our local educators, he was 36 years old. He lost his battle to COVID-19. Like I said, I had a dear friend, 44 years old, a master barber, a community advocate, in June, lost his battle to COVID-19. So I want your viewers, your listeners to understand this is real. This is nothing to play with. It's nothing to debate about. You need to be vaccinated, and I can't tell you what to do, but the science shows. And so people will say, well, Mr. Brown, if you're a man of faith, why do you need a vaccine? Because he gives me wisdom as a man of faith, God gives me wisdom. Okay. And while a vaccine is not 100% sure, it gives the odds, the odds are much higher in my favor when I am vaccinated. Someone asked me on the radio the other day, well, Mr. Brown, do you know the side effects for getting the vaccine? I said, well, I don't know the side effects for getting the vaccine, but I know the side effects for not getting the vaccine. And
You know what? I
one of
just
those
said
could be
that
death.
too. I said the same thing.
Yeah.
So, you know what? You stepped right into my next question. I was going to say, what do you think about these faith leaders that are actually, I don't know if you know, you probably do because you know everything. About 30 bishops died in the Church of God in Christ from COVID. Did you
Wow.
know that?
Now
Yeah.
that I didn't know.
Yeah,
That's
about
and
30 of them. That's when
wow.
it first came out because they was talking about the Lord was going to take care of them. Well, how do you feel about pastors that are telling their parishioners, don't worry about it, God's got us? What do you feel about that?
I think they're going to be held accountable. They're going to be held accountable at a higher level because, you know, the Bible speaks to, especially Isaiah 61:1, where, you know, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me and I was appointed and anointed, okay, to heal the brokenhearted, to loose the shackles of those who feel as if they were bound, and to lift the spirits of the brokenhearted. And if you're a pastor or a faith-based leader and you are telling your parishioners that they don't need to get vaccinated, that God will take care of them, I believe that they're going to be held accountable at a higher level because of the position that has been entrusted to them. The position that has been entrusted to them. I really, really, it disgusts me. That's the only word I can say, that it disgusts me that faith-based leaders would use their influence to put out such an irresponsible message. I will tell you, early on in May of 2020, I put out a video because there were faith-based leaders that were telling their members, if you don't physically come to church, then you don't have faith. Well, if you don't physically come to the mosque or the temple, you don't have faith. And I put out there that if anyone tells you that, that's the leader of a non-profit organization. PROPHET. That's a
I love it.
a non-profit organization. And I told those members and those parishioners, I was blowing up social media by saying, you can pay your tithes online. You can give offering online, but whatever you do not show up. They should all have a virtual platform that you can get on, and it's easy to get the virtual platform on today. So I'm going to say that to any faith-based leader out there who's now imploring their members not to get vaccinated, then you're going to be held accountable at a higher level than others because of the position that God entrusted you. And you know, we listen to our faith-based leaders. So how dare them put out such irresponsible messages? But I see a lot of that on YouTube. I see a lot of that on social media. But guess what? As members, we have to study to show ourselves approved, though, Dr. King. God has given us wisdom as well. He's given us discernment as well. And so I have the discernment to make my decisions to protect my family and to protect others as well. So I call it life-saving information, vaccination, education. We came up with that slogan with African Heritage Inc. that I work closely with, an advocacy organization in Northeast Wisconsin. And the acronym for LIVE, life-saving information, vaccination, education. Get the information to save your life, to get vaccinated so that you can have the education you need to move forward.
And you know what scripture always comes to my mind? And this is my will perish from the lack of knowledge. It's not that the knowledge isn't there. The knowledge is available, but you're not taking it. So you're lacking it and you're dying. That sums it up, doesn't it?
Listen, Dr. King, it really sums it up because so many people in the body of Christ are dying listening to leaders who are in the body of Christ. And so at that point, then I need to seek the voice of God. And I know there's something in all of us that says, listen, it's a crowd. I don't need to go in that crowd. There's something on the inside of all of us, Dr. King, that says, listen, touching that stove, that hot stove, is not a good move. Walking out in the middle of the street in traffic is not a good move. When you tell your parishioners that God is going to protect them so you don't need to be vaccinated, that's just like telling your parishioners to walk out in the middle of the street in heavy traffic, that don't worry about it because God is not going to allow any car to run you over. You know, God gives us free will. He gives us free will. And with that free will, we're going to have to use discernment, listen to the voice of God, and make decisions that are going to be beneficial for our family.
Amen. Let's go back to let's go over to the legislator. You know, I love to hear about that. You know, I'm a political junkie.
Yes.
That's my thing.
Yes.
So you are the man over there. What about this climate, man? It's just like, it's hard to stay upbeat with this crazy foolishness that's going on. Talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, one of the main things we have to understand is, and even with COVID-19, is political. You see, for example, you have the governor of Florida. I'm not going to even call his name, but you have the governor of Florida that's threatening educational leaders that if they come up with mask mandates, now the Florida legislature is, the governor is threatening to withhold pay, okay, from administrators. That, I mean, once again, a sad state of affairs. You also have, in the midst of a pandemic called COVID-19, Dr. King, let us not forget the pandemic called voter suppression. We are still facing the pandemic of voter suppression, where the lines are being redrawn right now while we're focused on the pandemic. The midterm elections will be coming soon. So I'm telling everyone, get ready, because we only think that you have to vote during a presidential season. No,
right.
The midterm elections are even more important. Voting for your local leaders, your city council members, your county commissioners, your school board, those are the most important elections. And so right now, we're just facing those battles right now for voter suppression and so many other battles that are being faced. And then, listen, I want to go back, if I may, to January 6th, when we had the insurrection.
Oh, have mercy. Yes.
And I wrote this book called Talk is Expensive, Communicating Effectively to Expand Your Impact, Influence, and Income. And, you know, people always say, no, Mr. Impossible, talk is cheap. I said, no, talk is expensive. And the one example that I can give them is there was a man on January the 6th, whose name I won't call, and he stood at a podium and he told hundreds of his followers and his misguided supporters to go to the Capitol and to fight like HE double hockey sticks. And he told them to be disorderly and to go fight, and they did it. And hundreds of them stormed the Capitol. There was death on that day, billions of dollars in destruction, Capitol Police run over, and it was a sad day in America, but it was his talk that sent them to do this. It was his talk that sent them to bring chaos in the nation. Now, we all know if that was a protest for educational and social justice. We do know if most of those individuals were Black and brown citizens, that there would have been a bloodshed like we probably have never seen. And so
people would still be in jail. Please.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But here you have congressional leaders who are saying that it was nothing but as if they were visiting the Capitol on a tour. So they're in denial once again. And so listen, the political landscape in our country is one of mass division. And the last individual who left office, although he's physically gone, the residue of his horrible administration still is left behind. So I'm encouraging all of your listeners and your viewers at Black Women Empowered. If you're not registered to vote, you need to register. If you're registered, you need to vote in the midterm elections, because at the end of the day, policy rules the world, and those who make policy rule the world. So policy is everything.
What about there's a lot of faith-based leaders that still like him or love that particular party. What do you say to them? Because I can't understand it.
Well, I understand that I understand it.
I
They are so misguided. And here's the thing. If you support his administration and you use excuses like, well, he gets things done for African Americans, for example. But here's the problem. If you're a faith-based leader, much of what you preach and teach deals with the moral compass of an individual. It deals with the ethical compass of an individual. Here was a man who we know had no morals. He had no ethics. And so you're in direct contradiction to the message that you preach every Sunday. You're in direct contradiction to the messages that you teach every Sunday. And so if you follow such an individual, how can you tell those who follow you to be morally upright and ethically upright when you support a man who exhibits no character, no morals, and no ethics, all in the name of he does things for our people? Totally misguided. So I would call that hypocritical, Dr. King.
well, the only connection that I've always heard, and this is the craziest thing, they're against abortion. But listen to this. You're against abortion, which is killing a baby, of course, killing a baby. Right. But they can kill all those other people. You can let people die from hunger. You can, all beat them in the streets. All death is death. It don't matter whether you're killing a baby or you're sending them to jail for smoking a joint and they dying there. Whatever. Death is death.
It's called selective amnesia, and it's also called what we call choice politics. You choose what you want to advocate for, and so police brutality at an all-time high as it relates to the killing of unarmed Black men and women and children, aka Tamir Rice, Cleveland, Ohio, and children in America. And so you come up with the issues that are convenient for you, but you ignore the issues such as systemic racism, such as social injustice, such as poverty and hunger and other societal ills that we in the body of Christ should be standing up for. And so, like I said, for any faith-based leader that would support that individual in good faith and good conscience, that lets me know that something definitely is wrong on the inside of them, because there's no way you can support this individual, okay, and not have a heart issue and, quite frankly, a head issue as well, Dr. King. I believe they need to get some help, and I believe that they are in denial. And once again, they're going to be held even more accountable because they're not just leading their families. In many cases, they're leading congregations with hundreds and some of them thousands. And that means that you're leading your parishioners down a path of destruction, and you will be held accountable for that.
All right, I'm going to ask one more political question, then we're going to shift again. Vice President Kamala Harris, I haven't quite figured out what her role is here. I know we're glad to have a black vice president, but I don't really see what she's doing. Can you help me out? help a sister out.
Help a sister out. Well, Dr. King, I'm just going to say, since we're still early in the Biden administration, we're early in the Biden administration. I am just hoping that some things will pivot. Let me say that some things will pivot and that she will have more of a role. I guess a lot of her role now is dealing with foreign policy or what have you, but definitely, I do want to see, I want to see a more definitive role for our vice president, other than just the fact that she is a Black woman in office, because that was wonderful up until the inauguration, right? But now we're definitely going to have to see the fruits of her labor, and we're definitely going to have to see, I guess, more of the issues that we care about that are going to impact not only Black and brown people, but on a universal level. So I am like you. I am hopeful that she will have more of a defined role that we can see, the relevance in Vice President Kamala Harris. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping she just didn't get there because she was a Black woman. She's a smart Black woman, and
Oh,
I'll be
brilliant.
honest,
Yeah, she listen.
I'm a little disappointed so
I
far. The
understand.
only thing I've seen was she had was the kids over at the border. I ain't really seen nothing.
Right. Yeah.
I
So,
just I
and
keep it real.
so keep it real, Dr. King. And like I said, I'm hoping that, it's still early in the administration. And so I'm hoping, I am hoping I am hoping, Dr. King, that there is a pivot, there is a shift, and she has more of what we will call a relevant role, a relevant role. And I know that the pandemic is shadowing everything. And I'm sure that she's doing some valid things that have not been publicized, but we want to see more of those things that we don't have to go deep and do research for. So I get it. And I feel you, Dr. King, on that. I feel you on that. It's great to have her in office, but yeah, we definitely want to see more than just saying we had a Black woman as Vice President of the United States.
Absolutely. Okay. So my last question is, so Black Women Empowered, you've been with us for a long time now, and we are
Yes.
just glad that you are part of our network ministry. So I get a lot of pushback from non-women of color why we need Black Women Empowered. We are divisive, we are racist, and it's not fair. What say you?
Here it is in a nutshell. I'm going to take it to historically Black colleges and universities, for example. Anytime you hear from a historically Black college and university, that university has to run down all of its accolades. That university has to run down all of the programs it offers. But a predominantly white institution doesn't have to do that, because everyone just automatically assumes if it's a predominantly white institution, then it's at the highest level of the educational spectrum. Our HBCUs, on the other hand, we have to prove that we are relevant. If your platform were just called Women Empowered, it would be saturated. And when I say it would be saturated, it would be a melting pot. And the dangerous part about a melting pot is that everything supposedly melts and it all comes together. But here's the issue: we lose our authenticity. We lose our identity. So I would prefer that we be a salad bowl, because personally, I love the taste of my cucumbers. I love the taste of my tomatoes. I love the taste of for example, my banana peppers. And so I would say to those who criticize Black Women Empowered for having a platform and saying that it's divisive and it's racist, it's none of the above. Black women are still minimized and marginalized, not only nationally, but in many instances globally, but definitely nationally. And so what Dr. Jubilant Justified Jacqueline King has done is she's created a safe place where Black women, brown women, white women, Asian women, Latino women, Native American women can all come and they can worship and they can praise and they can inspire and they can empower each other under the umbrella of Black Women Empowered. But it doesn't mean that you have to be Black to be on the platform. Just as if you go to a historically Black college and university, there are many white students who go to those institutions, and guess what? Guess what? It does not minimize their identity. But no one ever asks the Notre Dames of the world, the Catholic schools, to change their names. No one ever asks those of the Jewish faith and Yeshiva University to change their names. No one ever asks the Asian community to get rid of Chinatown or to get rid of the Asian communities. It is only when you have those platforms such as Black Women Empowered that we get the pushback and the criticism. No, Black Women Empowered is the name, it is the brand, but all are welcome. Because one thing about the Black Women Empowered, one thing about even the term Black, it is a universal term. And so for so many centuries in America, Black has been associated with that which is negative. Black sheep of the family, okay? Black market. All of those terms have been negative, but Dr. Jubilant Justified Jacqueline King has brought a platform of women of all races under Black Women Empowered, something that is positive. And so I say, Dr. King, don't ever change the brand, don't ever change the platform, because all you have been spreading is positivity. All you have been spreading is inspiration and empowerment. And one word that people are afraid of, you have been spreading liberation, the freedom of thought. The freedom of thought. And so Black Women Empowered is not racist. It's not divisive. It is definitely universal, but that's the name. And those who don't approve of the name, then you can go to another platform.
Oh, gosh. It sounded like it was coming out my mouth. Honestly, I'm serious, because that's what I've been saying. I had a woman this morning. I don't know if I've been going live. You know, we go live on LinkedIn. I'm gonna get you on LinkedIn too. We can go live on LinkedIn now.
Excellent,
And
excellent.
I went live this morning, and so I addressed that. I said, so for all of you people that come on the platform and saying that we're racist and we're that, I said, we've always embraced all women. I said, but make no mistake about it, the name is never going to change.
Yes.
If you're not comfortable, then you don't have to follow us. But if you are, they ask, could they join the membership? Yeah, you can join the membership. But guess what? We're going to be focusing on Black and brown women. If you're
Absolutely.
comfortable with that, then come on in and get your daily dose or whatever it is you want. But we're not changing for anyone. And there was one white woman that said, thank you for being inclusive. We've always been inclusive. Have we ever said white women couldn't come?
Absolutely
Never.
not. But here's the thing. Jesus said, the least of these. The least of these. And in America, Black and brown women have been the least of these. And we deserve a platform where Black and brown women can come and be celebrated. I would say to any of my white friends out there, and when they say, well, why do you need the Black women empowered? We don't have white women empowered. Oh, no, we don't have to. Because historically, white women have always been empowered in America. White women have always been inspired in America. White women have always been put on a pedestal in America. It's always been that way. And it wasn't, and it's been overt, not covert, it's been overt, it's been out there. It's always been that way, whether you're talking about in media, whether you're talking about in education, whatever you're talking about, whether you're talking about the entertainment industry, whatever you're talking about, white women have always been the standard, even when you're talking about affirmative action. When you think about those who benefited from affirmative action the most in this country, the data shows white women have benefited from affirmative action more than anyone else in America. Absolutely. So Black women empowered now, Black women empowered always, focusing on Black and brown women, but definitely inclusive for all women who also want to uplift their Black and brown sisters.
All right. I love that. Mr. Brown, you are absolutely the best. I mean, I'm so excited about this. I'm excited that our followers are going to see this. They're going to feel so rejuvenated once they hear you. That's what you do. You have that effect on everybody. We're going to do some other stuff. I know you got a busy schedule, but we're going to do some stuff.
Well,
I'm going to pull you right on in there.
I'm looking forward to the collaboration. I'm looking forward to the education, the elevation, the inspiration, the motivation, the transformation, the restoration. But I want your viewers to also know it's really about the implementation. It's about the implementation. So if you are seeing the value in Black women empowered and Black women empowered has been a blessing to your life, then I'm going to say this, and Dr. King, you and I did not discuss this. I'm just going to say this as I would on any platform that gives as much as Black Women Empowered gives. I would say to those women who have been benefiting in every area of their lives, then sow a seed into Black Women Empowered. When you sow financial seeds into Black Women Empowered, then Dr. King and her trailblazing team are able to bring you mass programming and master facilitators and master teachers and so much access. It takes finances to run any platform effectively. And so that's a part of the implementation. Don't just pray for Dr. King, sow some seeds into Black Women Empowered. We sow seeds into those entities that don't even give our lives any value. We'll do that, but it seems as if those entities that give us the most value, we don't want to invest in that. So I'm saying invest in your inspiration, invest in your empowerment. If you really love and value Black Women Empowered, then not only pray for the platform, invest in the platform so the platform can expand and so women nationally and globally can get the same experience that you have. So financial seeds into Black Women Empowered, because Black Women Empowered is sowing seeds into the life of you, your family, and helping you to build legacy.
Wow, that was awesome. I didn't see that coming. But since you brought it up, you can sow on our website, blackwomenempowered.org. You can click right on there and give right there. You can sow by joining our membership. We are building our own platform, blackwomenempowered.net. You can join the sisterhood. It's powerful and it's only going to get better. Mr. Brown, you are so amazing. I just love you to life. I do. And you know, we don't spend enough time together because you're busy, I'm busy, but we're gonna make sure we touch base, do a little better.
Absolutely. Listen, we're definitely going to do that. Dr. King, may I give my social media to your viewers if possible?
Give them all your social media. I want you to share your book, because how they can do your books, your social media, any training you have, anything you want to share, you go right ahead.
Well, thank you so much. I can be followed on Twitter at Keith L. Brown 1911. That's Keith, Keith L. Brown 1911. On Instagram at Keith L. Brown _. Instagram Keith L. Brown _ On Facebook at Keith L. Brown, Mr. I'm Possible, and Keith L. Brown 1911. My YouTube channel is Keith L. Brown 1911, and my website is keithlbrown.com. And the name of the new book is Talk is Expensive. You know, Dr. King, I was looking around and I just
couldn't find the book.
Yeah, I could not find a copy, but listen, Talk is Expensive, Communicating Effectively to Expand Your Impact, Your Influence, and Your Income. People say actions speak louder than words, but it's the words that move people to action. And you think back to the beginning of time when God said, in the beginning was the Word. Okay, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So talk is expensive. So definitely follow me. Continue to follow Black Women Empowered. I highly endorse this platform because I've directly and indirectly seen how Black Women Empowered has grown to help so many women live professional and productive excellence, professional and personal excellence. And that is as a result of Black Women Empowered. So to all of you, listen, all of your listeners and viewers, y'all stay masked up, y'all stay prayed up, keep looking up, never give up, and stay fired up. That's going from impossible to I'm possible.
Yes. So I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Would you do a master class on that book?
Yes. Yes, look.
That's what I want. I want you to do a master class on that book.
I would love to do a master class. As a matter of fact, we're already doing that. And if I'm doing that in educational and government circles and family advocacy circles, I would love to do more of that in the faith-based arena. And we definitely want to start with Black Women Empowered. So the answer to that is yes, we can definitely do a master class on Talk is Expensive, Communicating Effectively to Expand Your Impact, your influence, and your income. Because when you expand all of that, then you can definitely sow more into Black women empowered. Because it's just a law. It's just a law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity is you give to that which gives to you. When you are receiving all of this empowerment, all of this inspiration, then you should be sowing seeds, which is going to help this platform grow, but it will also show where your heart is as well.
Well, you heard it here. He said he was going to do it. So he can't get out now because it is going out in the atmosphere all over the world.
Yes.
You, Black Women Empowered members have something to look forward to. If you haven't joined, you need to join blackwomanempowered.net. Mr. Brown will have a master class on that. Thank you, Mr. Brown. You know I love you, love you, love you. We want to thank everybody that tuned in today. And until the next time, God bless you. You know that I love you and there's nothing you can do about it.